I think a lot of people want to hate on Pierce Brosnan naturally because he's probably the prettiest, which means he's going to have that target on his back.
Forget about Remington steel. The guy's always rocking the blue steel.
He happens to be attractive, but he's no pretty boy. He's significantly physical as well as being, having an attractive face. And it just lends to the whole idea I was getting at before about how him being attractive is just kind of part of things. It allows him to do his job better.
Who are you?
Bond. James Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
My name is Bond. James Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
Name's Bond. James Bond.
For the millionth time, let's put that in context. This is absolutely male fantasy, categorically so, but it's anchored in the truth, which is that the character James Bond is everything that men want to be and that women want to be with. And within his universe, he is literally handpicked by the government to not only be a killer, but to have the ability to approach the most beautiful women in the world and make them fall in love with him so that they're willing to help him save that world. That's nothing to shake a stick at. There are only 6 men that have ever played James Bond, and each of them is the type of fella that no woman would ever say no to.
It was the job we were chosen for.
And it's not just about being attractive, it's about embodying the ability, that capableness, that competency that attracts these women more than just a pretty face, So I think that I think a lot of people want to hate on Pierce for being that, but I think he just embodies Bond beginning to end. Oh, yeah, sure. It would be interesting to see Dalton in this movie.
You're late, 007. I had to stop in the bathroom. It's too easy. No more foreplay.
It'd be interesting to see Connery in this role, as we always say. But Pierce fits this movie wonderfully.
He didn't feel shoehorned in at all. Pierce really took up the reins, and it was just such a natural in it.
Yeah, there's one word that Ian Fleming often uses to describe James Bond's appearance, and that's the word cruel. And Pierce Brosnan doesn't have that automatically. He'll show that cruelty, but he doesn't have it built into his face the way that Connery does. But he can access that cruelty, which, if you ask me, makes him all the more dangerous.
No. No more foreplay. Take me to Yanis.
As McCurdy pointed out previously, he seems like he really wants to be there. Like he wanted this.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely true.
Yeah, if you watch interviews with Pierce, like he was just really upset that he couldn't be Bond sooner. Like when originally he was going to be Bond, he was pretty devastated.
You were supposed to do Bond, about 8-10 years ago?
I was supposed to do Bond in 1986.
Right. And this is the network that screwed you about
this.
Not
Is the Peacock. Yeah, the Peacock peed on me.
Really? Well, tell the story.
But it's okay. I dried off since then.
No. But now you were doing Remington Steele, but it was canceled, right?
I was doing Remington. Thank you. It was a great show. It was in its 4th season, and they put a line through it. They canceled it. I got offered James Bond. I said yes to the part, but in the contract there was a 60-day clause in which NBC or MTM, who owned the show, they had 60 days in which to resell it back. And in those 60 days, I went ahead with all the negotiations, the wardrobe fittings, my stunt double had started the pre-title sequence in Gibraltar, etc., etc. Cubby and I had done all the photographs, And then, the negotiations went on over those 60 days, and it was getting down to the wire. Cubby said, look, you can have them for 6 episodes, but no more than 6. And they said, well, think about it. On the 60th day, they came back and they said, we'd like the option of 22. Cubby said, no way. And that was it.
And then you were out? Oh,
I was out. It was gone. It was on a Thursday evening. I remember my wife and I, we were renting a house down in Malibu, and it was 6:30 in the evening. My agent phoned up and said, it's not going to happen.
Well, how many, did you actually do the Remington Steels after that?
I did the 6, and then they canceled the show.
Oh, man. Kev, do I have one of those 60-day clauses?
I would check it out, Jay.
But see, all good things come around. They all come around.
They do. It's amazing that this came around a second time.
It's interesting to see that I think Dalton really didn't care to be Bond. I think Dalton is an actor first and just maybe not a fan. where Connery and Moore kind of paved the way for the character, essentially. Like, they kind of really laid it out. I think Dalton and then after is really the era of, we were fans of this, we wanted to be this, you know? Like, you'll talk about, if you ever talk to, like, Doctor Who fans, they'll kind of say some similar things about some of the Doctor Who's as, you know, I watched Doctor Who as a kid. I remember Doctor Who. I always wanted to play this character. And now they finally got the chance to be Doctor Who. I think it's the same thing with James Bond. I think Pierce is like the first kind of fan of the character that's like, definitely want to be James Bond.
I grew up on Sean Connery. He was, for me, my James Bond. I saw Goldfinger back in 1964, never thinking or dreaming that I was going to end up playing James Bond.
I mean, so when I saw this naked lady, this gold naked lady, it was unbelievable. Yeah. And I kept on going back for more, you know, but...
You don't really get that sense with Dalton so much, because it's like, you know, I'm an actor. Exactly. So it's nice to see somebody who I think encompasses all the swagger and the smoothness of Connery, but he can give a little bit of a wink and an eye. He's not as like completely serious as Connery, but he kind of embodies a little bit of the Roger Moore-ness that we kind of like.
Comical side of Roger, yeah.
Yeah, the charming, sarcastic quippiness of Roger Moore.
I enjoy a spirited ride as much as the next girl, Billy. Who's that?
The next girl.
But at the same time, Pierce might smile at you one second, and then he's a fucking killer the next.
Why can't you just be a good boy and die? You first. You second. Up!
And him and Dalton, you know, they don't look too far off. You know, he can still play that serious kind of modern take of the character. So he's like he's still kind of the perfect Bond. When you really think about it, you're like, damn, he's so good.